It is our great pleasure to celebrate Yom Ha'atsma'ut, the 72nd anniversary of the rebirth of the Jewish state of Israel. In 1948, the British, who had been ruling Israel since 1917, handed it over to the Jewish people, and we have had it as our own country ever since. Of course, this was not the first time that we Jews lived in Israel. God promised our forefather Avraham, that we would inherit the land of Israel nearly 4,000 years ago. God commanded him to walk through the whole land as a spiritual precursor to our claiming God's promised land in our turn. We lived in Israel for nearly 1,500 years, from after we left Egypt until the Second Temple was destroyed nearly 2,000 years ago. There were Jewish communities there on and off since that time to this. And now it is an amazing country where Jewish people are in charge of their own lives, where Shabbat and Kashrut are recognized in law, where the ancient holy language of Hebrew is alive in adverts, road signs and shop fronts. Jews all over the world are very proud of the return to Israel and what has been achieved there. We might ask, why did God promise us this country in particular? Why not America or South Africa or Iceland or China? I would like to introduce you to the land of Israel with the words that Moshe used. Near the end of the book of Bamidbar, in chapter 34, the book of Numbers, Moshe told us the borders of the land that we would inherit after leaving Egypt and wandering for 40 years in the Sinai desert. It would extend from Syria and Lebanon in the north down to Egypt in the south, with Jordan and Iraq to the east and the Mediterranean Sea to the west. If you look at Israel on a map, you will see it is there to this day. It is a tiny little country, so small that its name is often written next to it because there is no room. But it is a very important place nonetheless. If an emperor wanted to move from one continent to another to conquer Africa or Asia or Europe, or to be in charge of the ships sailing across the Mediterranean, Israel was a great place to invade. The Babylonians invaded Israel before the Persians invaded and defeated the Babylonians. Alexander the Great invaded. The Crusaders invaded. The Mamluks and the Ottomans invaded. Napoleon invaded. The British defeated the Ottomans and took over Israel in 1917 until the Jewish state was established in 1948. And thus it is that Israel looks back on a long history of invasions and conquests. Everyone wants Israel because it is at the crossroads of 3 continents and the Mediterranean Sea. So life in Israel cannot be taken for granted. Anyone who looks around and thinks about what an important place it is will give thanks for it and pray that it should be safe and peaceful. Life in Israel makes you think about God's protection. It makes you worry about the future, and it makes you have faith in God. In the book of Devarim, chapter 11, Moshe told the Jewish people that the weather is another important thing that we need to keep an eye on in Israel. And this is what Moshe says: "For the land that you are about to enter and possess is not like the land of Egypt, where you would sow your seeds and water the land. But the land you are about to cross into and possess is a land of hills and valleys. You will drink water from the rain of heaven." Moshe was telling the Jewish people that Egypt was kind of an easy place to live. The river Nile flowed through it year after year, and it was easy to get water from the Nile to water plants and make them grow. There wasn't that much to worry about. But in Israel, Moshe told the Jewish people, water cannot be taken for granted. Israel's main reservoir, the Kinneret, needs rain to be full. If there is no rain, God forbid, there is drought and famine. In Israel, you can never be quite sure what the next year will bring, be it in geopolitics, be it in climate. So we naturally remember that we have to trust in God to give us all that we need, food and peace. Now we can understand why God chose Israel for the Jews. God knew that in a place where the land provides everything for us, we might forget about him. Instead, he wanted to make us into a people that think of him, that look to him, that learn to trust in him and rely on him, to show everyone in the world what a wonderful thing it is to trust not in a bank, not in a government, not in a river, but in God. God knew that we would be strong enough and brave enough to live like that, and that in the end, the whole world would learn from us how to remember him. In 1948, God gave us the land of Israel once again. He trusted in us and asked us still to trust in him. We give thanks to him this day and every day. We remember also that we Jews can trust in God and ask for his help for Israel wherever we are. We can strengthen our beautiful homeland from far away by praying for peace, by learning the Torah, by keeping the mitzvot as best we can. We can trust in God every day, however big or small we are, and we can ask him to protect the land of Israel, the Jewish people, and everyone in the world. And thus, the Jews become not just a people of faith in Israel, but a people of faith that is dotted around the globe. As well as thanking God, we have others to thank as well. There are many brave and generous Jewish soldiers who risk their lives to keep all the people in Israel safe, and we thank them for this noble kindness. We thank the brave and inspired women and men who fought so hard to help to set up the state of Israel in the run-up to 1948. God crowned their efforts with glorious success, and they must not be forgotten. There were many amazing Jewish soldiers who made the supreme sacrifice, giving their lives so that we Jews could live in Israel or visit safely. We give thanks to them, and every year we dedicate Yom HaZikaron, the day of remembrance before Yom Ha'atsma'ut, to remembering their bravery and generosity. There are many, many wonderful communities in Israel where people study the Torah and keep its mitzvot. We thank them for helping to bring this wonderful goodness to our land. There are many charities in Israel and around the world that help to nurture life in Israel, reaching out to the very poorest, to the marginalized, to the disadvantaged, helping them to make a good life in circumstances that would otherwise be very difficult. We support their efforts. We salute them all. And finally, I thank you all for caring about our beautiful country and learning about it with me by listening to this. The most wonderful gift we can give to God is the love in our hearts for him, for his people, and for his world. And by learning with me, you have shown that this love is in your hearts as well. May God bless Israel. May God bless us all. Thank you for listening.